Well, with me now are the American journalist Beth Gardner and Idil Ayman, who's a former Republican press secretary. What did you take away from that speech last night?
Well, I think that Barack Obama is making another real plea for another 4 years, but he's not really going to tell you what he's going to do. Just have faith. And I think that was the main message. And I think the Republicans will work with that over the next 60 days, really.
You see it that way?
You know, I'm not sure Romney delivered so much in terms of specifics either. These speeches are more, in a sense, about a vision and a big picture rather than policy detail. I thought Obama gave a good speech. He's a good communicator, and he did what he had to do. It was a little bit to his misfortune that he had to follow Bill Clinton, who demonstrated, again, what a masterful communicator he is. But, you know, inevitably for Obama, this is a very different convention. It was a different speech, and it's a different campaign than 4 years ago. You know, the euphoria is gone. This is not hope and change. He's now the candidate of continuity, and he's having to make an argument for sort of staying the course, which is a lot less exciting than it might have been. And as he said, you know, he's talking about a hard road. It was not a thrilling, joyful speech, but I think he delivered the goods.
I mean, I have to say, I don't quite understand, and I've seen it, you know, quite actively in the reaction, this point about where was the substance. I mean, it seemed to me that what he was doing was framing a choice, as he did very deliberately, making it clear that it was quite possible that America could elect Mitt Romney, but particularly on the economy, he was saying, look, there are choices, whether you believe in tax cuts at the top rate, whether you believe in rowing back on welfare programs, whether you believe there is a role for government in intervening. I mean, in that sense, it was an honest speech, wasn't it? I mean, he didn't bang on about growing up in a log cabin or whatever it was.
No, I think that's fair, but I think, you know, ultimately, it's not that people were looking for a Bill Clinton-esque, you know, rollout of very specific programs, but I do think that he cast a very almost a class warfare type of rhetoric again, which, you know, is something that the country can get mired in, and that's not great for anyone. I think he was just taking a lot of pot shots at Mitt Romney in a very eloquent way. And I think ultimately we're not going to be talking about specifics of tax cuts in these kinds of speeches, but you've seen from a lot of the fact checkers in the newspapers who do post quite a lot and very frequently when anyone's speaking on either side, that there was quite a lot of misinformation put out, and exaggeration and hyperbole, I suppose, so about cuts and things like that. So maybe in the next few weeks we'll see a change.
I mean, Beth Gardner, sometimes candidates don't really mention their opponent. I don't think Barack Obama did 4 years ago, speaking in Denver very much. This time he did. He went there quite often, attacking. He also made it very clear, as I say, that there was a choice. There was this possibility that he could be defeated. Why did he do that? What's the politics of that?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, very often the president likes to sort of appear almost above the fray, and he didn't do that this time. He did take a few, you know, really direct attacks on Romney. I think that's just a taste of what's to come, that this is going to be a very ugly, a very down and dirty campaign in both directions. But I also think that what you say about the choice is true. I mean, what we saw out of the Republican convention in Tampa and then the Democrats this week is that it is a very stark choice between two really different worldviews, and I think both parties would agree with that. Two different pictures of how to get to, you know, sort of a better America. Obama summarized the Republican position as take 2 tax cuts, roll back some regulations, and call me in the morning. That's a little bit flip, but it's not actually a bad summary of the Republican view, which hasn't changed in the last few decades. They acknowledge that. They want government out of the way, cut taxes, cut regulation, and let the sort of entrepreneurs, you know, make it happen. And the Democrats are much more of the view that government can be part of the solution, not part of the problem, and sort of invest in the future.
Both he and Bill Clinton, I mean, basically they said, look, the choice is either we're all in this together or you're on your own. Is that fair to the Republican platform?
No, I would say that's not a fair assessment. I mean, I think there's the reality of a fiscal cliff that the president and Congress have got themselves into, and the president has definitely pushed it until after the election, where you will have to deal with the economy, well, not the economy, but the budget. And I think that the Republicans will be looking to the president to actually, you know, make a deal no matter what, because whoever comes in.
But what is Romney offering the ordinary Joe or Joanna?
Well, I think he's offering a different, more responsible approach. I mean, I will acknowledge that there has not been that much specifics on their side either, but pledges to balance the budget deficit, pledges to reduce the overall deficit are important. And, you know, there have been some clever ideas where he says he's going to create 20 million jobs. You know, clever ideas about individual retirement accounts and things like that that will go to the long term. But really, it is philosophical in a large way.
Was there enough emotion in it for you? He's been criticised for being aloof.
I thought he delivered the emotion, but again, in contrast with Bill Clinton, you can see that Obama gives a great speech. He had the passion, but nobody has that warmth, the Bill Clinton warmth. Obama has a little bit more. He's a more restrained sort of a guy. Compared to Mitt Romney, he had quite a challenge too with warmth. You know, both of these candidates, I think, are more sort of contained individuals. They're not the natural backslapping sort of politicians.
Okay, I'll leave you there. Thank you both very much.